Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and we're here to talk about something very important and rather serious as well. Respect for your privacy is coded into our DNA. Unquote. This was part of a WhatsApp privacy policy, but it's not going to be applicable anymore. Users have time till the 8th of February to accept WhatsApp's new terms and conditions. If a user does not accept the terms, their account will be deleted. From IP address to your current location to your network and your phone model details, WhatsApp will be able to access and share all of those details with Facebook to enhance and better their business process. The tech giant's latest policy update impacts how privacy data will compel users to compromise on their privacy for the purposes of businesses and profitability. Data transgresses all boundaries, with several countries still working on old laws in the technology sector. Data has become a point of surveillance to a national and international security threat. Is this the new reality, and should we embrace it? Because our privacy is at stake, if not anything else. And this is something which goes starkly against what Facebook, what WhatsApp, what Apple, what Google, and some of the other tech giants have stood for. We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining me on the panel is Ashwini Dubey, senior lawyer, Professor Yamini Agarwal, economist, Mr. B.L. Vora, former DGP, internal security expert. Ashwini, let me start by asking you a very simple question. We are living in a world where data has become everything. China is using data to snoop on India. It's using data, metadata rather, Ashwini, to in fact get to know trends whereby which it can influence the choices of people. If this integration is supposed to happen between WhatsApp and Facebook, what kind of a threat does it pose to our security? And number two, if we all recall, WhatsApp and Facebook on a number of occasions, just a couple of years ago, even in the congressional committee in the United States, went on to say that they value nothing more than a person's privacy. Whatever happened to that big talk?
Yeah, thank you, Vidit Bhai, for having me here. If in 2017, Honorable Supreme Court in a landmark judgment has said that the right to privacy is a fundamental right and protected as an intrinsic part of the life and personal liberty and freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution. But that is not applying to the case of Facebook and WhatsApp. That is because the Facebook and WhatsApp and other social media platforms are the private entities, and being the private entities, they don't get covered under the ambit of the fundamental rights, and they are enforced under Part 3 of the Indian Constitution, and they are only enforceable to state action. But the question is, what happened to the larger bench judgment which says that each and every individual of this country, by overruling two judgments, Khadak Singh's judgments, M.K. Sharma's judgment, Supreme Court says, no, look, you have to respect the individual right to privacy of every citizen of this country. You cannot share it with it. But here, what is for the business, but the WhatsApp has made a deadline, that is one, the contrary to that. And the second, in India, there is no mechanism. There is no law as far as it can protect that Facebook and WhatsApp, they will not share their data. Because what happens, we share a number of things. While talking to my client, because my client is my privileged communication. Suppose I am having with you a privileged communication, Vineet Bhai, and then privileged communication shared with somebody, then it is the violation of the judgment, because a lawyer and a client, as well as two individuals, as well as two clients, when they share their details with each other, that is the right that should be respected, and that should not be shared with. But what the Facebook and WhatsApp is doing, what the WhatsApp has given deadline, that is contrary to the judgment. And what we need a law as per which our data should be protected.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. And Mr. Vora, people already feel that your choices, the things that you want to buy, the things in fact you want to window shop, the choices that you have made on the internet, somehow, somewhere, on some social platform end up following you. But this is going to be a more profound, a deeper invasion into the privacy of individuals. What kind of phones do they have? What kind of people they talk to? What products they serve? What websites do they have? Doesn't this really infringe the right to privacy? Doesn't this really transgress a person's right to keep something private? Tomorrow, these mediums can also be used as some sort of a way to blackmail governments or agencies.
Actually, Vineet, you're absolutely right. In my view, it is going to be the new CIA or KGB or what have you, because it's not only your personal security. I'm talking from the crime point of view at the moment. It's not only your personal security which is being compromised, but even the national security now is being compromised. You just shared a short while ago that China is using all this data for swooping over India. And now the point is, especially in a country like India, this is more dangerous because now I think almost 1 billion people are using these applications, and most of them are illiterate in the sense that they don't know even the nuances of what private data is. Normally, whenever anything happens, just press a button and go ahead, and that's it. So this is very, very dangerous from the national security point of view. And I think that we should somehow go in for a law or whatever. We should not allow them to operate in India, or of course even have an alternative WhatsApp kind of an app, which I think is being developed in India. This is what I had heard some time ago. So I think it's very, very dangerous because the way we work in India, in a democratic society, making a law is a very tedious process. You are seeing this, what is happening to the laws regarding the farmers' laws at the moment. And the technology is moving so fast that on this matter, Indian laws cannot catch up with them. And even if you pass a law, I'm afraid policemen who were recruited 20, 30 years ago, they don't know the latest technology. Even if there's a law, they will not know how to use it. So I think from all points of view, apart from the marketing angle that you said, which is important, financial angle is important, but I think the personal security and national security are far more dangerous areas in which these people are wading into, and we have no control over them. They are based abroad, they have their servers abroad. So there's nothing that we can do to check them. So I think the only thing will have to be like China. You put a ban. China, WhatsApp is not allowed, Facebook is not allowed. So I think with something like that, we will have to go in far. And I feel they are not now going to be able to be reasoned. Earlier, they were giving options to people, as you said yourself, and now there's no option at all. If you're using WhatsApp, you will have to necessarily share your data.
Absolutely. And
I think there should be a ban. The immediate thing would be government should consider putting a ban like on Chinese apps. They should put a ban on WhatsApp and Facebook for India.
Right. We are also joined by Mr. Ravi Visvaraya Sharda Prasad, Telecom and Information Technology Consultant. So before I come to you, let me get a quick response from Yamini as well. Yamini, the founder of the FBI, J. Edgar, whenever he wanted to get work done from anybody, he would threaten them by saying that I have a file on you. Facebook perhaps might be able to say that for at least 1/3 of the population in a few weeks from now.
Well, I think digital footprints are something that everybody traces now. And as and when we talk about many people going on Facebook and Twitter or many other social sites, they do maintain their personal information, right from where they're going to what they're eating and to other things. Besides, AI and cookies on the websites and the others also trace your movements into what you do and what you do not do. So that does put a lot of personal private information in the hands of the other, a third party, which may not be housing the data in our country, but outside the country. There has been a continuous debate which has been going about in terms of locally managing the data and restoring it in the country. Also, new laws have been, though not much effort has been put on the privacy laws, but a lot of talks have been going on about how they have been manipulating economic as well as political scenarios in the country. Like Cambridge Analytica was actually talked about during the elections time or the others. So when we talk about all of these factors, yes, laws are required. Privacy issues need to be taken into consideration, and people need to be aware about what agreements they enter into by just one click when they download an app or when they take up a particular digital application for their personal viewing or for their personal work.
Right, absolutely. And Mr. Prasad, what does this integration mean? Facebook says it's a kind of integration. It is essential for their business model. But is Facebook shooting itself in the foot by in fact violating the privacy of individuals? Is it in fact giving a platform for perhaps other similar applications to come up who perhaps will be able to cope up with the privacy of individuals?
See, well, in the online sphere, whenever any organization is giving you free services, then you are the product because they are mining your data for targeted advertising purposes and selling your data as the product. Now, here what the integration is that Facebook has launched a digital online payments platform in India, as has WhatsApp. And the information they are gathering about you are your payment history, all your transaction history, information about your device, your location history, where you're logging in from, where you're traveling. All this is going to be easily available to them. And they can sell this data or monetize this data, especially your location data and your transaction history. The other thing I want to elaborate on what Yamini has stated, which is about the data localization policies. And there are the various bills and the rules and regulations which are pending in India, the Data Privacy Act. In this, what the Reserve Bank of India says or wants is that all transactions which are about Indian citizens, a copy has to be maintained on Indian servers located in India. And in fact, the government of India wants that all the servers should be located in India and there should be strong regulations about the data of Indian citizens flowing abroad. Now, what has happened with these new policies of WhatsApp and Facebook on digital transactions is that your data is going to be flowing abroad, is going to be processed abroad, is going to be stored and processed abroad, and you really do not have control over how servers in USA or other countries will be processing and storing your data. In the G20 summit last year, the Japanese Prime Minister and the US President Donald Trump had proposed a policy called DFFT, or Data Free Flows with Trust, where they wanted very easy cross-border flows of data. And this is something that India has been strongly resisting. India is very strongly opposed to trans-border flows of data. And in fact, if you see the biggest generators of trans-border flows, data flows, first is China, and second is UK, and third is India. So India is the third largest generator of international data flows as of this week.
Right, absolutely.
So
right, I completely understand your point. Yeah.
Between Indian laws and US laws, especially on data storage and data transactions, already US laws are conflicting with the European GDPR laws.
Right. Absolutely. I completely concur with you. This is something which has to be taken up by the government on a very serious note. Ashwini, does this also fall under the purview of, insanely monopolistic behavior by a certain tech giant? Because, they're already mining this data. They're already selling it to the highest bidder. And from a few weeks from now on, they will be able to monopolize as well as monetize this data to serve their own ends. Are they going to get too big to hit or too big to miss?
Vineet bhai, there are more than 120 crore mobile connections in India, and there are 50 crore plus smartphones in India. I remember in 2017 when Honorable Supreme Court 9-judge bench passed a judgment on right to privacy, the then Information and Technology Minister said that we are not going to release the data of an individual to anyone except in case of a compelling public interest. Now, as of now, when there is a law pending in the parliament, debate is going on. At that point of time, when there is a need to protect the rights of every individual, India does not have any data protection legislation. The consent was given by the users. It is still debatable how much of it is valid. Unfortunately, the government should have come forward and should have come that we respect the privacy of every individual of this country. We respect the privileged communications of two individuals. We respect the communication between the end user and the purchaser and buyer. Because we make payment on Google and through other sources, that data, if they are allowed to give to somebody, we share our bank details through WhatsApp. If it goes to somebody, then that can be misused because India is having more than 120 crore mobile connections. So at the time when right of a citizen to remain private and choose not to share his personal information or data with the state or any private parties, then WhatsApp's this term is really worrisome, and government must come forward and ask the WhatsApp and other companies not to share the data to any end user or any for the business module or for any other company.
Right, absolutely. And Mr. Vora, what does the government need to do at this time? Do we need a stronger, a more robust policy, to crack down on companies like Facebook and WhatsApp? Because, they have come to a point where individuals are unable to function without them. So perhaps that is the reason, that is the pivot that they're taking advantage of. But it has to be reversed because this is a problem which is going to be affecting you and me personally.
You're absolutely right. The robust policy, yes. But I think even before that, there's need for some urgent action. There's hardly a month's time now left. They say from 8th of February, this new private policy will come in force, whether you like it or not. And now, as I said earlier, this is like now behaving like a goon. I mean, you say that you either take it or leave it. And I'm so much used to it. Every Indian is so much used to it that you can't live literally without WhatsApp and Facebook also. And they of course, very cleverly sugar-coated the whole thing that, it's for marketing, this, that, and all. Now, I think one is immediately talking to them, and even any agreement of the government of India has to be very solid for me as an individual, because my government should not have every data about me also, because so that it cannot do surveillance on me. I mean, that is another angle. That's of course secondary. But immediate is to tackle these guys. As you already said, monopolistic behavior, Google and all, even in America and all, they're taking action or trying to take them to court. Like Australia, in fact, has asked them to pay for the news feed, which they use from the social media and all. So I think three things need to be done very clearly and immediately. One, immediately talking to them because a month's time is left. Two, asking them not to insist and take option of the individuals which earlier was being given. Every individual should be given an option. Three, this should be publicized also, because many people will not know really. They're not educated enough or don't have time enough to see this. And then come up with a robust policy and law. And I think there should be penal provisions for this. And last, I think we should have arrangement like China. We should have our own apps for WhatsApp type and all like China has. I think that's the only way forward, but we have to move very, very fast. And I'm afraid we are not that fast enough.
Right. Yamini, this is perhaps the right time, the right opportunity, the right window for us to focus again on Atmanirbharta and come up with an application which follows the parameters, which follows the tenets and pillars of privacy.
Well, I think, yes, it would be good that if there is an alternative that is possible for, Facebook or Twitter or for the others, whereby you can create a niche which has regional languages in it and, and can support a similar set of systems which these apps have been providing. And obviously, Atmanirbhar Bharat will play an important role in creating alternative e-commerce giants or the e-commerce technologies which we require to protect the privacy.
All right. Concluding comments from Mr. Prasad, and then we're going to wrap up the show. Mr. Prasad, this is on its way to becoming a nuisance, and individuals need to be informed that this is basically a breach, a staunch breach of their privacy, and in support with the government, this could be reversed.
Let me just tell you that as a person who develops such apps, it is not going to be easy to develop an app which does not require the same amount of device information as all these other apps are using, to elaborate on what Yamini had said. Because any app you develop will require this amount of information from you about your location, your device information, where you're logging in from, your mobile number, your IP address. All that will be required for the app to function. So the question is whether you want your data to be processed by the Indian government and Indian agencies or by US agencies. And sometimes you don't want the Indian government to know your details. So it is not an easy solution, because developing these apps is even making them commercially viable is going to be difficult, because there are what are called network economics in effect, that the utility of a network grows exponentially with the number of users. There are many alternatives to Facebook, such as Telegram or Signal or many other end-to-end encrypted applications, but they don't have the user base of WhatsApp. The reason I'm on WhatsApp is because all my friends are on WhatsApp. The reason I'm on Facebook is because all my friends are on Facebook. If they move to a different app, I need to send out friends requests again. This is what is actually holding back the development of apps. For instance, if you go back to 2004, Facebook was not the first social media company, nor was it the best technology. So it is just network economics are at stake, and these are winner-take-all games. So even if you develop an app A, it will require just about the same amount of information that Facebook and WhatsApp are asking you. And the question is, whom do you want your data to be processed by? Do you want it by the Indian government, or do you want it to be used by the US private multinational corporations?
Right, absolutely. Mr. Vora, you wanted to make a point, sir?
I just wanted to say two things to Mr. Prashad, of course, very well said by him. One is the financial viability. Well, China is also managing. They are managing without Facebook and WhatsApp. I think even in countries like Dubai also, I think there are certain things which they are not allowing. And now TikTok went away, we are managing still. Second, any day I'll prefer Indian government to have my data rather than an international agency or another country to have my data. Any day.
Right.
Because that's always risky if you go to international, because it's beyond your control altogether.
Right.
Here one can go to the Supreme Court, the government can change, so much else can be done, pressure can be built on. What kind of pressure can I build on Facebook by holding a demonstration in New Delhi, you tell me? So I think that an alternative is possible. I'm not a technical man though, and I'm more worried about the national security, if you ask me honestly. On his personal security, surely, but I'm worried about the national security. Because this is a new kind of a weapon which they will have. The new kind of capitalism you may call, or imperialism, what you have. And they can devastate us. They can devastate the economy, the human beings themselves in no time with all this kind of data.
Well, absolutely. And for small mercies, Facebook and WhatsApp are not controlled by China. That is the thing to be at least happy about. Because China is doing exactly what the world doesn't want it to do, that is snooping on other people and using that metadata to influence economies, the social fabric of the world. But at the same time, it is important that these giants be shown their place. If it cannot happen locally, then India definitely needs to make the most of this opportunity and come up with its own applications. If we can live without a multitude of Chinese applications, then I'm sure change is the only thing which is constant, and that's exactly what we need at this point in time. If WhatsApp is going to go someday, then perhaps that's what it was meant for. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Yamini. Appreciate you being here and speaking with us. On that note, we're going to dip into a short break, folks. Be right back.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.